Hey guys, this is Sandra. Today I just want to talk about something really exciting. I got the opportunity on the weekend to hang out with people at the Cooloola BioBlitz, going out and looking for fungi. And because fungi are not out at the moment, particularly when it hasn't rained and there hasn't been the right humidity and the conditions and the temperature to make them fruit, we ended up talking a lot just about the functionality of fungi in the ecosystems. And it was really cool because even though we were looking for fungi, there were a lot of really great questions and a lot of questions I haven't even asked myself or haven't questioned fungi in that way. And what was really awesome was that we had to get back down to the mycelium because there were no fruiting bodies. And when I say that, there were fungi out there were fruiting bodies visible, but there were no beautiful little mushrooms that people love to take photos of, even though the other fruiting bodies were still beautiful. But it was just not the experience that people really want, So, and I agree, it's so awesome when all of the fungi are out there showing their beautiful, exquisite designs and colors, and it is just one of the most kind of a magical experience to look for fungi because they're so different and varied from one another. Each species has their unique expression and a unique color, and it's just, yeah. Anyway, it's the same for all the creatures, great and small, in nature that God has made, but fungi are somehow dear to my heart, and this is why I talk about fungi a lot, and this is why I got invited to go out with people and sort of just be there with them and talk about fungi. So the beauty of that is that we talked about the function a lot, and there were a lot of good questions coming from the kids and the adults about the function of fungi in ecosystems. And of course, it is all about the function in their ecosystems. That's why they're there. And the beauty and the exquisiteness of their fruiting bodies are just a pleasurable thing for us to experience. And of course, it's got function as well in that. But the mycelium is this thread, this gentle, feathery way in which fungi live. And this is the mycelium. So this is just these fungal cells that are elongated, really long cells that travel forward and expand the fungi themselves. So that's their natural way of being, is this mycelium. And that is the most coolest sort of part of the fungus in a way, because that's where the function really comes from, whereas the fruiting body is really just to reproduce, to get the spores out into the environment so the fungi can continue to perform their function in the ecosystem. But the mycelium is this really delicate formation that has this fractal geometric structure. And what it does is, in order to feed, in order to decompose wood and other debris, other organic matter, it actually exudes or puts out or spits out or vomits its enzymes, its digestive enzymes, onto the substrate, which is normally this, wood. A tree falls down and the fungi permeate that, the spore lands and the mycelium grows, or the fungal cells called hyphae grow, and then they permeate the wood and then they exude these enzymes extracellularly, unlike us where we take our food in and then we get that digestive process inside of us. Fungi do it externally. And the power of those enzymes is to break down really hard substances, hardcore molecules like lignin and cellulose in the tree and chitin in insects. So they are very, very unique in their capacity. Enzymatically is very unique in the world, in the sense of that is their role. That is what God put into them, designed into them, to have this capacity to break down hardcore structures. And what I really felt after this whole experience of talking about fungi and why I love them, and this is part of why I'm so in love with them, their function is what matters to me, not so much what their names are or, of course, how they look just brings me to tears at times, and it's just funky and funny and beautiful to look at, and it, fills my soul with joy. But the other joyous part of it, and particularly as, in a sort of a scientific way, it makes me feel humbled by what they can do, their purpose in the environment, in the ecosystem. And so I've appreciated being invited to the BioBlitz and having this experience with people in the field and photographing and talking to them and particularly talking to them, and particularly the questions that come from people, and the conversations around that. So I felt really, really grateful driving on the way back home, and sad to leave this most beautiful forest that is just overwhelms me so much, to be in that beautiful environment where everything collaborates and works together, and I can feel God's feelings in how God designed for the universe to function, where everything collaborates, works together, gives to one another. And fungi are such a great component in connecting all of those. They provide this service where they connect all the other services. There's so much connectivity through the fungal network, the fungal mycelium. And I was touched by this very deeply. I felt very emotional and very overwhelmed with the gift of being able to do that, and receiving the gift of being able to, provide that role that I had, just to be able to hang out with people and talk about the things that I love the most. Expressing my feelings of gratitude about how much joy it brings me to be able to express my passion, in this case for fungi. But there was this other element of it where I feel so grateful towards God for creating these incredible creatures, if I can call them that, and the opportunity to have in my soul this love or appreciation of them and other creatures, and how God is so giving and so generous with providing these systems, and to be able to understand them in my head, and then to actually feel what the purpose of these and their power. And that's what really got me. It was the power. I feel like these feathery, very, very delicate microscopic structures that the mycelium is made up of, and the way it looks and the way it feels and how soft it is, and how it makes fungi feel really soft and gentle. And I just feel so much of God's kindness in creating that in that way. It somehow speaks to my heart on a level that my mind cannot comprehend. So even though I've studied fungi, I did research on fungi, I learn as much as I can about them. It's like nothing compares to receiving the feelings with which God, I guess, created or imbued the purpose of fungi. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I feel God's nature in creation. So I feel that the fungal purpose, the intelligence, the design opens my heart to feel how God feels, I suppose, about fungi, because it's just the most overwhelming feeling of just the incredibleness, and that can never ever, I can never have experienced that through my mind, through reading and learning and listening to people talk about fungi and researching it even yourself, and spending time on the research. While that really it can really open up your heart, it definitely explodes the mind. But the explosion of the heart can only occur when you actually ask God about, or want to know from God about, fungi or whatever it is that interests you. And I can't explain the feelings, but the one lesson that I feel is in fungi for humanity, for us to reflect upon and for us to appreciate the power of love, really, is that these very, very thin, thread-like, delicate, soft, feathery structures, the power that they have, the softness inside of them, and the power of their enzymes is such to break down this hardcore wood. Lignin, cellulose, and chitin, what insects are made out of, and what fungi are made out of as well. God's designed them to be the most hardiest substances because they grow trees. Trees have to have the ability to go up and grow, so the hardy wood is laid down, and those components, especially lignin, is so tough, very, very dense. And I guess the molecules themselves, if you look them up, just how much is involved in creating lignin. And for these very gentle creatures to just gently ooze out their enzymes, these substances, the power in that, this is what gets me. And I think now I understand why I love fungi so much. I think it's just the delicate structures and the softness and the to me it's beauty, but I suppose it's just, well, it is beautiful as well to look at, especially with a microscope, like a lens. I encourage you to go out there and look at it, but you will then recognize, like, how can something so delicate and so small and so invisible in the structure of the wood until you see them pop out, or you look for the mycelium, like fruiting bodies popping out. It's that what boggles me. Like, my heart just goes like, you've made this incredible soft thing that I think is so beautiful, like fairy floss. And these images are of the softness of this, fairy floss-like, very like cotton wool-like, very gentle, soft to the touch substance that has this power. And I think it's a lesson that God's teaching me in love, that God's love is the most powerful substance in the universe, probably universes, I don't know, like it's this softest, gentlest, most incredible, and yet most powerful in transforming the human soul. Because I feel it softening my heart, and that's why I feel like the mycelium is such a great analogy for me personally, because I'm like, wow, so this is exactly what happens. There's this substance that God can give me, and when I ask for it sincerely, it can enter my soul, and it will teach me, and it will expand me in a sense I've never ever thought possible. No matter how much I read, it will never ever, nothing will explain to me what I'm looking at and what I'm interested in the way that God can, and God's love does that. It comes with God's truth, but it softens my heart. It makes me softer. And that's my biggest prayer at the moment, is to soften my heart, just to be as soft as some of these, all of God's creation, I feel, is so gentle and soft. And that power is in the softness. So our humility, our ability to be soft to ourselves, kind to others, just kind in, like, I feel God made everything very kind. And God's just teaching me that through all these beautiful creations like bird sounds, but in particular now fungi, just for the purpose of this video. And I feel like God's made a perfectly soft and gentle and kind and giving and generous system for us to enjoy, but also for us to be a part of that. And I feel like God's love is the only way we can learn, receiving that love, we can learn about the power of that soft, gentle kindness, that love that God can personally give us, as opposed to the love that God already imbued in all of her creation that I'm just beginning to feel. But the point of the story is that very soft, gentle, humble creatures, which we can become, who we can actually become as well, through God's love, are powerful. And I always used to think of power as you got to be angry and you got to stand your ground. And I'm like learning, no, it's like the opposite. It's the opposite. It's like there's so much gift in that. I feel so gifted, just like I feel like God's given me this opportunity to learn in a way that I never thought possible. And I'm just so grateful. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I would love for other people to experience that. Like it's something so unique, and it's going to be so unique to you as you have got your own personality, nature, and interests. But to connect to the person that made it all possible, not only physically made it and manifested it into existence, but also put the functions, the laws, everything that governs that thing that you're interested in, no matter what it is. If you ask the creator of that, God will share with you how God feels about those things, and you will receive the truth about that. And that truth is very, very beyond what you can read or what you can learn with your mind. And that's all I'm saying, is just like opening your heart to receiving God's truth and God's love on that subject is going to make it so much more enjoyable, and it's going to make you understand things so much differently. Because you can't explain in scientific terms. We can see it in a photo or touch it, or you can't in scientific terms explain like the love imbued in that little system that you're looking at, or a big system like the galaxies, So this is just something I really wanted to talk about, and I just feel so grateful that I can actually share that with people. And I suppose that's probably where I'm going to go, with sharing more from my heart rather than just the scientific hardcore stuff that I read. And while that can definitely help you open your heart, definitely, because you'll start going like, wow, it blows your mind. all these things are so mind-blowing as it is, but it's not until the heart softens to that that blowing power, like when it enters the heart, it feels completely different, and there's so much more joy and just childlike softness that starts to sort of mold you, and it's a very lovely feeling. It's a very lovely experience to have, like having God show her feelings towards what she's made and share them with you. And I encourage you to go ahead and have a go, experiment. God will show you if you pray enough, like, and when I mean pray, desire and long, like long for that, just long for God to show you. And honestly, you won't be disappointed. And at the same time, what it really needs is us to open our hearts and become softer. And it will be emotional, but it's pain and pleasure at the same time, as the pain leaves because of not having had that experience before, of that softness entering. Pain will leave, and the softness kind of remains and grows if I'm humble enough to keep asking for God to show me things, to share her feelings with me about nature, about myself, about whatever it is. It's wonderful. Anyway, I just really wanted to share it just because I feel like I would love for my brothers and sisters to experience this as well. It's not something that's, being told to us anywhere else, except for by Jesus and Mary on the Divine Truth YouTube channel, and personally, and when you have interactions with them. So if you go to seminars or talks or whatever you want to call it. So I will put a link down to the Divine Truth YouTube channel and the website as well, the Divine Truth website. And that is the only way I have learned that this is possible, that communication with God is something that God desires and something that I can actually have, which took me 10 years to develop, to discover, to even attempt to want to know about. So yeah, experiment with that and learn from Jesus and Mary if you have a, interest in this. But it works. It's real, and it's wonderful. Thanks for watching. That's it from me, and I'll be doing another video soon, hopefully. Okay, all the best. Bye for now.